हाँ क्या? I couldn't listen.
Nothing, sir.
There will come in that the time. Yes. Now let us start the analytical portion of the Mozart definition of Mozart. Yesterday and day before yesterday, what we have gone through is the, how we have done the Mozart itself. Hmm. First, we have decided, we have picked up a point in space and we set our rectangular coordinate system through this point. Means rectangular coordinate system becomes P, X, Y, Z, or Px along x-axis, Py along y-axis, and Pz along z-axis. Next, our condition was the this frame of reference Pxyz.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. This frame of reference along Pxyz is supposed to be along the principal stress. Say we know that we know that uh, we know that uh, every stress in every system there is this position. In every system there is, in every stress system we will find and principal stresses for a rectangular component of stresses. We will find a principal stress of maximum and minimum stress over a certain plane, where on the other plane there exist stresses. What we have initially in the Morse cycle, what we have done, the stress was along x-axis, along y-axis, this is normal stress, and also xy and y-x axis, the shear stress. And we are interested to know what is the normal stress and shear stress over a plane which is at an angle, certain angle to the longitudinal axis. Next, we have to find what is the normal stress, what is the value of this, what is the maximum angle of this value of this plane over which this principal space normal stress is maximum, shear stress is maximum. We find that the over this plane, what is another name is called principal plane, there is only normal stress exist and there is no shear stress exist. Also, we'll find planes where the maximum shear stress exist, where which happens here, but in this shear stress plane, shear stress is maximum, but principal stress is not zero, but it has certain value. We are using this formula here by using the Px, Pi, and Pz axis as the three principal stress axis. Means one of the axis say Px, one of the single stress say maximum, sigma 1 is acting up to Pz, Py, that is intermediate principal stress, that is sigma 2 is acting, and another three. And the third axis, Pz, we have the third principal stress, sigma 3 is acting. Now we are considering a plane through which is acting, going to pass through this particular point P itself. And we know every plane must have a normal, means normal line, means a straight line. Every plane must have a straight line which is at 90-degree angle to the normal itself. Next, we considering plane and passing through this point P, and next we are assuming that its normal is also N. Next, what we are going to do is here, over this normal this plane which is passing through the point P, we are assuming different points, and each has a different stresses like tau and sigma, normal stress and sigma shear stress over the point itself. And we have a huge number of points, each has points there. And for any different plane, that any other different plane we are passing through the point P, there exist different normals, and as such, of course, there exist different values of tau and sigma. And with this, we have formed the principal Morse circle, which I have discussed yesterday. Now, let us go through. Just 1 second, please. Okay. Next, let us share next pages. Now we have got from the motorcycle what is the maximum principal stress, what is the maximum shear stress, etc. Now, what we have got is the principal plane are denoted by tau 1, tau 2, tau 3, where 2 tau 3 sigma 1 minus sigma 2, 2 tau 3 is equal to, actually this is the normal shown later that principal shear stress are 45-degree angle with the principal normal stress. This principal shear stress are tau 1, 2, 3 given by this formula. We have already reduced 2 tau 3 sigma 1 minus sigma 2, 2 tau 1, 2 tau 2 sigma 1 minus sigma 3, and 2 tau 1 tau 1 is sigma 2 minus sigma 3. So you see there is a similarity between when we are asking about tau 3 sigma 1 minus sigma 3, and when tau 2 sigma 1 minus sigma 3, and when tau 1 sigma 2 minus sigma 3, where if the suffix is 1, then the suffix of sigma will be the other 2. Here suffix is tau suffix is 1, here the sigma suffix is 2 and 3. Here suffix is 2, sigma suffixes 1 and 3, and so for the tau 3. This is the easier way of remembering the maximum principal shear stresses, what will be the value in terms of the normal stresses existing in 3 different planes. Now, we have discussed the other conditions like sigma equal to sigma 2 and sigma 3, or when what is the condition of shear stress, and when sigma 1, 2, 3, when there is no shear stress at all and only the principal stress on a shearless plane itself. Now what is today is when points with coordinates sigma tau, what we have told one, first we told that our coordinate axis is p, x, y, z, and we told that along the 3 axes px, py, and pz, we have 3 principal stresses: pi, p1, sigma 1, sigma 2, and sigma 3. Sigma 1 maximum, sigma 3 minimum, sigma 2 the minimum principal intermediate principal stress. And then we are considering a plane which is passing through the point P with a normal n. And we assume that over this plane, who has a normal, non-particular normal n itself, we have number of different points we can choose, like let's say Q or so, Q, R, S, T, whatever you like, and each point should have a coordinates sigma and tau, which means we are saying that here we are considering the coordinates in 2 dimensions. Sigma is the x direction and tau is the y direction, and we have plotted the same in our motorcycle, because we can write down on a piece of paper only 2-dimensional dimension, not 3-dimensional itself. So we have to modify our discussion accordingly as per the Mr. Moore which have done by Mr. Moore himself for 50 years back. No, just 1 second, please. আচ্ছা আচ্ছা শোনো 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 আমি একটা ক্লাস করছি, একটু পরে ফোন ব্যাক করছি ক্লাসটা। ঠিক আছে। হ্যাঁ, I'm just repeating the point again. We have just introduced a rectangular coordinate system P, X, Y, Z, where px is the x-axis, py is the y-axis, and pz is the z-axis. And we are also assuming our principal stress, which is sigma 1, 2, as sigma is the maximum, sigma 2 is the intermediate, and sigma 3 is also minimum, acting along px, py, and pz respectively. And we are then assuming a plane which is passing through this point P, and each plane, whatever means orientation, they must have a normal n which is acting perpendicular to the plane itself. And we can think of considering any points, any coordinates points on the plane, say Q, which has coordinates sigma and tau. And these coordinates is only two-dimensional. So we have a coordinate system there where x-axis is along sigma, and y-axis is along tau. So tau j 0, tau O, sigma, and tau is the two-dimensional coordinate systems for these cases. Now we have plotted the points of sigma 1, sigma 2, and sigma 3 over this 0 sigma axis and get the respective tau stress over the tau itself. That is the way of planning the Morse circle. Now let us calculate the formula, whether we are right or wrong, in an analytical way. Now again, that's same coordinate axis we are choosing. The areas along the principal axis such that all the axes are along the principal axis. Okay, same thing. And on any plane we are passing through the P, we have a normal n. And over that particular plane, a resultant stress vector or a stress or resultant or force converted into the stress itself divided by the force area, value of the force divided by cross-sectional area. And these resultant stress vectors have shear stress and normal stress and shear stress like this, because it is not normal to the plane itself. So it has in three dimensions along the x-axis, px axis, py axis, pz axis, which is passing through the point P itself. If we find out the component of this stress along x and y and z axis, we'll find that it will be sigma 1 nx, sigma 2 ny, and sigma 3 nz, because we know that sigma 1 is effective along the principal stress axis px, sigma 2 is acting on the principal stress axis py, and sigma 3 is acting on principal stress axis pj. And nx, ny, and nz as a reaction cosine or cosine of the angle which is subtended by the by the resultant vector with x, y, and z axis associated. So we have this value tx in terms of in terms of sigma 1, sigma 2, and sigma 3 is sigma 3 and nx, ny, nz in nz like this. What is happening here? The resultant stress has a magnitude will be like this: t square, tx square plus ty square plus tj square, or sigma square nx square. This will be nx square, sigma 2 ny square, and sigma 3 nz square. So this is the result, one equation of resultant stress itself. Now sigma is the normal and tau is the shearing stress on any point on this plane. So what will be the value of sigma here? I'm just going to the next page to clear this problem. I have explained it different way. Here what we are having, the normal stress is now the projection of T along the normal itself. It is actually also supposed to be equal to the sum of the projection of its component Tx, Ty, and Tz along n. Okay. So it will be like this. Components are initial Tx was projected along x, y, and z axes, and its component along the normal will be equal to sigma, and it will be nx tx to the tx plus ny tx and nz tx. And if we put the value of x, y, tx, ty, and tz from just our earlier formula, this sigma n or sigma will become n sigma 1 n square, sigma 2 ny square and sigma 3 nj square. So we are just converting the formula in a reverse way as per our normal calculation. First, we are saying that there is a resultant stress which is not along the normal. Next, resultant stress has a component along x, y, z, etc. Next, this component tx, ty, and tz has a component from the normal itself, actual normal itself, because and we are finding all the components and add it together, because it will be give you the value of the normal stresses acting along the normal for the resultant stress vector Ts. That normal stress become sigma 1 n square, sigma 2 n y square, and sigma z n square. We already have reduced this formula. Tau square is equal to sigma 1 n square, so and so. And this is tau square is also equal to sigma square plus tau square. So we can have tau square is equal to this right hand portion minus sigma, or t square minus sigma square is equal to tau square itself. And we know the square of the all the cosine vectors nx square, ny, and nz square is equal to 1 itself. So thus we have three known variables here. One is this one, another is this one, and another is this one. Well, from these three variables, about three equations, we can solve the value of nx square, nyz square, and nx square, and ny square, and nz square. Because there are three unknowns here, 1, 2, 3. Here is also 1, 2, 3. This is also 1, 2, 3. Other equations, this tau, everything are tau, sigma, everything is supposed to be known to us. Thus, you can simply use this portion, and with here, you can use this portion from here and eliminate this portion from here. So making the tedious calculation, what we are doing, finding is the square of nx square, which is given as sigma minus sigma 2 minus sigma 3 multiplied by tau divided by sigma 1 minus sigma 2 minus sigma 1 minus sigma 3. So there is a resemblance in because such you cannot do this tedious calculation always. We have to remember the value of x square, ny square, nz square. What is this? Sigma minus plus sigma 2. Along the x-axis, there exists sigma 1. So the sigmas not exist y and z axis given here, sigma minus sigma 2, sigma minus sigma 3, and plus tau square, and which is divided by sigma 1 minus sigma 2 and sigma 1 minus sigma 3. This is the way of remembering this problem. When sigma 1 is acting x-axis, and over there is no sigma 1, and the denominator there are sigma 1. Sigma 1 is the maximum, so every other stresses are subtracting from there without making a positive result. Same is equal sigma y. It is along sigma 2 axis. So this is like this given sigma 3, sigma 1, and sigma 2 minus sigma 3, sigma 2, sigma 3, etc. Nz square, it is along sigma 3 axis. So others are used to make this equation like this. So this 4, 5, 6 equation I will give you nx square, nyz square, and ny square, and nz square. 3 square of the 3 rectangular coordinate axis, 3 direction cosine, which is subtended by the resultant stress vector with x, y, and z axis, which happens to be the principal stress axis. Now, next portion is, you see this n square, nx square, ny square, nz square all must be positive. They are square. They cannot be negative. So right hand side of the expression in the above equation also must be positive when to make the both side equal. So what we are going to do here, let us go through that 3 different stresses cases again, where sigma 1 the maximum principal stress, sigma 2 is the intermediate, and sigma 3 is the minimum principal stress. Sigma 1 greater than equal to sigma 2, and which is also greater than equal to sigma 3, which is very clear. Sigma 1 either better or equal to sigma 2. Sigma 2 is either greater or equal to sigma 3, and sigma 3 can be in one sense either equal to sigma 2 or less than sigma 2, and there is no other option for it. So first we are calculating these options, sigma 1, 2, and 3, sigma 1 greater than sigma 2 greater than sigma 3. Next option is sigma 1 equal to sigma 2, but that is greater than sigma 3. Again, sigma 2, 1, sigma 2, sigma 3 are all equal. And third option also exists. Now let us discuss first option, sigma 1 greater than sigma 2 greater than sigma 3. For this, the denominator equation 1 is positive. How we have to do it? Let us see. What is the equation 4? The numerator sigma 1 is always greater than sigma 2 and sigma 2 1 is always greater than sigma 3. So numerator must be positive, no problem here. Denominator also, I mean denominator must be positive, so denominator is supposed to be positive itself. So what is happening? From the numerator must be positive. In equation 5, denominator, what happens to denominator? Here sigma 2 is greater than sigma 3, so this is positive, no problem, but sigma 2 is less than sigma 1, so this portion must be negative. So make it negative, this portion, numerator portion must be negative. In sigma z, sigma 3 is always less than sigma 1, so it is negative. Sigma 3 always less than sigma 2 or equal, so it is also negative. 2 negative, next one positive. So upper numerator will be also be positive. So this thing we have written down like this. Sigma 2, sigma minus sigma 2, sigma minus sigma 3 plus tau square. This expression must be greater than 0. Is it coming from the equation 4? From equation 5, sigma minus sigma 3, sigma minus sigma 1 plus tau square less than equal to 0. Or the third one, sigma minus sigma 1 and sigma minus sigma 2 plus tau square is greater than equal to 0. So we have these three inequalities, and we can write down these inequalities like this, where we are having tau square separately plus sigma minus sigma 2 plus sigma 3 equal to divided by 2. This is whole square, which is greater than sigma 2 minus sigma 3 divided by 2 whole square. So same is the case. Here you see, here exists sigma 2 and sigma 3. So here existing one sigma 2 plus sigma 3, one expression sigma 2 minus sigma 3. First sigma 2 expression is eliminated for sigma, and it is free. So this we have to add tau, and this is the other way of remembering this equation, because this will come from here to here. But again, it is a long calculation, so better try to remember it unless you are asked them to prove it. So three inequalities are existing here. One is sigma 2 plus sigma 3, or the value of sigma along x-axis, along sigma axis of the point 2 or intermediate point, say axis py, and sigma 3 is the stress, minimum stress acting along pz. The same is the case here. Here sigma 3 is pz, sigma 1 is the maximum acting along py. So this is, and same is the case here, all three. Now what happens? Now, according to the first of the equation, the point sigma and tau must be on or outside a circle of radius sigma 2 minus sigma 3, with this center at half sigma 2 sigma 3 along sigma axis. This is a circle with BC as the diameter, which I have seen here. This circle have a radius half sigma 2 minus sigma 3, which should be, so the point is always greater than this value as far as our first inequalities. So the point will be outside the circle with radius sigma 2 minus sigma 3, and center, if the circle should have center half sigma 2 minus sigma 3, sigma 2 plus sigma 3 along x-axis. The center should have this coordinate along x-axis half sigma 2 plus sigma 3, And if you draw a radius with half sigma 2 minus sigma 3, then all the points will be on the outside of the cycle to justify that inequality itself. We has a BC diameter. B for B is the stands for sorry. B stands for where B stands for sigma 2 from 0 to 0 to the along the axis, and C stands for sigma 3 0 to along the axis in opposite direction, because we assume that sigma 3 is negative. The second equation always follows the same rule. Must be on the circle ADC with radius sigma 1 minus sigma 3 3 and center at half sigma 1 plus sigma 2 on the sigma axis. On the sigma axis, here it comes inside. Any point must supposed to be come inside to satisfy this formula, because this is less than or equal to, so you have to come inside. And the last equation, point must be lie on or outside the circle with radius this and center at this itself. Hence, for this case, point Q should lie in the shaded area which is shown in the earlier pages, which is inside the biggest circle but outside of the middle, intermediate and middle circle itself. And in case of case 2, where in case of case 2, what happens? The point Q should lie on the shaded area. Case 2 means, no, sorry. In case of case 2, sigma 1 is equal to sigma 2 greater than sigma 3. Well, here for due to the similar argument of the above, those inequality becomes tau square plus sigma minus sigma 2 plus sigma 3, which is equal to sigma 2 minus sigma 3 by 2. Tau square sigma minus sigma 3 minus sigma 3 by 2, which is equal to sigma 3 minus sigma 1 whole square by 2, plus tau square. This is actually here. This will be square. I have forgot to write it. Sigma 1 plus sigma 2 by 2 whole square, my plus greater than equal to sigma 1 minus sigma 2. The argument is same. Here is a circle of radius sigma 1 minus sigma 2, and the points are origin is sigma 2 plus sigma 3. Here, this is equal to this. The first point of the two, sigma 2 to sigma 3, the point must lie on the circle with radius sigma 2 and sigma 3. It cannot go away or come in, but stays over the circle with radius sigma 1 sigma 2. Center will have half sigma 2 plus sigma 3. And the last equation indicates the point must be outside a circle of 0 radius, that is sigma 1 is equal to sigma 2, sigma 1 is equal to 0. Since this case, its Morse cycle will reduce to a cycle to be at this center point, point cycle B. Point Q lies on the BEC, the straight line itself. In case of sigma 3, third condition, sigma 1 equal to sigma 2 equal to sigma 3. This is a trivial case. Trivial means easy is when it has an isotropic of the hydrostatic state of stress. The Morse cycle collapses to a single point on the sigma axis. This is the very simple case or trivial case, Let us go for the next one. Let us now find out what to be the plane of maximum shear. What is the plane of maximum shear? We understood that Px, Pi, and Pz axis is the plane of maximum normal stresses. And we have understood from our previous discussion that the plane of maximum stress don't have any shear stress. But we find afterwards there is also this plane where shear stress is maximum. And in those planes, that tensile stress is normal stress is not equal to 0 but has certain value. Now let us in this case, we have gone through the Morse cycle and find out that In case the principal stress sigma 1 greater than sigma 2 greater than sigma 3, if this is the case, the maximum shear stress will be equal to the diameter of the Morse cycle, having center at sigma 1 plus sigma 3 divided by 2 and having radius equal to half sigma 1 minus sigma 3. So this maximum stress is equal to the radius half sigma 1 minus sigma 3, that is T2, tau 2. And associated normal stress from our Morse cycle, which we find out in early, is equal to half sigma 1 and sigma 3. Substituting these values in the following equations, in the earlier Cauchy's equations, what we have, like on this, of this three equation, above this equation will solve again for nx, ny, or nz, and we'll have the equation like this. For nx square, ny square, nz square, same is the condition, sigma 2, 3, and sigma 1 minus sigma 2, sigma 3 plus tau square, sigma 3, sigma 1 here, and 2 minus 3, 2 minus 1, tau square. This is the same way we have to remember this three equation here when we are dealing with the maximum shear stress axis. Now the maximum shear stress, if we put the value of maximum shear stress and maximum normal stresses, what will happen? We will find nx is equal to half plus minus square root by 2, and ny will be equal to 0, and nz equal to plus minus 1 by square root by 1 by 2 square root, 1 into 2 square root. Achha. We have to value the maximum stress here, sigma 1 to sigma 2 here, and get the value of tau here. And it is very clear here, when we have this cosine vector plus minus half, 1 by square root of 2, and nz equal to 0, and it is the plus minus 1 into plus minus square root by 2, what we'll find, the shear stress x on extreme values makes angle 45 degree or 135 degree with sigma and sigma 2 planes. And if sigma 1 is equal to sigma 2, then the three Morse cycle reduced to only one circle, and the maximum shear stress again half of the radius sigma 1, sigma 2 minus sigma 3, which is equal to tau 1, and associated normal stress equal to half C1 and sigma 1, 2 plus sigma 3. Again, you substitute the value of the above equation, you get nx equal to 0, ny equal to 0, and z is equal to half square root by 2. So we are following the same principle. We are putting the value of tau here and putting the value of sigma here and simplifying it to get the result like this. Here we are getting both nx and ny as 0. 0 means 0, angle is 0, direction angle is 90 degree cosine, and nz is 1 by nz is square root by 2 is 45 degree, 135 degrees quadrant. This means the angles are 45 and 90 degree. Angles are 45 and 135 with the sigma 3 axis, but remains indeterminate with respect to sigma 1 and sigma 2 axis. Next is it is so because sigma 1 equal to sigma 3 not equal to sigma 3, the axis of sigma 3 is unique. So sigma 2 and sigma 1 is the same axis because they are equal, but sigma 3 has arcing a different axis, whereas every direction perpendicular to sigma 3 is the principal direction associated with sigma 1 and sigma 2. And as we know, sigma 1, 2, and 3 are mutually perpendicular, acting on three mutually perpendicular axes. So sigma 1 and 2 may merge with each other, but sigma 3 is the principal direction and perpendicular to the axis of sigma 1 and 2. The sigma shear stress will therefore make an angle with angle sigma 3, 45 degree or 135 degree. But depends on the selection of sigma 1 and 2 may have different values of the selection of sigma 1 and sigma 3 axis itself. Now let us go another part that is comparatively simple but following the same way, octahedral stress. The frame of reference is again along three principal stress, sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 3. That is equal a plane which is equally inclined to all three stresses is called an octahedral plane. Here the plane which we are having angle normal to, having a normal n passing through P, here we are not defining that type of plane. We are defining a plane which are equally, that may not pass through the origin, but they are equally inclined to three axes. So this plane is defined as tetrahedral plane. Plane which makes same angle equal to all three coordinate axes is called tetrahedral plane. Such a plane will have nx and ny and nz is equal to 0. Their direction cosines are same and they are equal. Say, since nx square, ny square, and nz square is equal to 1, for an octahedral plane, it is defined as nx is equal to ny is equal to nz, which is equal to 1/3 plus minus 1/3 square root of 3. There are 8 such planes as shown above figure. The normal and shearing stresses on these planes are called octahedral normal stress. Normal and shearing stress on these planes are defined as octahedral normal stresses and octahedral shearing stresses. So in earlier part of this discussion, we are assuming different planes, different points over the plane, which is normal to the, which has a normal n, and but here all the points acting on this existing over this plane are called, have normal stress and shear stress, and they are called octahedral normal stress and octahedral shear stress respectively. Here we know that nx equal to ny is equal to nz is equal to half square root by 3, half into 1 by square root of 3. So it is like this: octahedral 1/3 sigma 1, 2, 3 is equal to half 1 by 3 L1, where L1 is equal to the sigma 1, sigma 2, and sigma 3, and sigma octahedral square. So square root of all these things, it will become 1/9 sigma 1 minus sigma 2 whole square, sigma 2 minus sigma 3 whole square, as well as sigma 1 minus sigma 3 whole square, or 9 T oct square is equal to 2 into all sigma 1, 2, 3 plus sigma 1 plus sigma 2, sigma 3 square minus sigma 1, sigma 2 plus sigma 2, sigma 3 plus sigma 3, sigma 1. And tau octal, the square root by thus square root becomes square root of 2 divided by 3 L1 minus L2, because L2, you know, we have reduced that. This is the inversal variant whose value is equal to sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 2, sigma 3, and sigma 3, sigma 1. And L1 is another variant which is equal to sigma 1, 2, 3. This is written to make the matter comparatively easier. Tau octahedral square root by 3 L1 square minus 3 L2 square to the power 3 by 2 itself. This is important to remember, that the octahedral plane was defined with respect to the principal axis and not with respect to an arbitral plane of reference. Hence, sigma oct and tau oct have been expressed in terms of stress invariant, and one can express in terms of sigma x, y, and z itself, or sigma tau xy, tau xz, and tau zx itself. So this will become, tau oct will become, take this form like this, and here its square